And we're live.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I am here with Rock Johnson. He has let us come into his studio, and we're going to talk about him and his amazing artwork. If you guys have not had the pleasure of meeting him before, he's been an artist with us pretty recently in the last couple of years, but I've been scratching at his back door for a while to come and hang out with us. So this is Rock.
Hi. How's it going? I'm Rock. I'm a potter, and I'm a ceramic artist and a potter, and I do a lot of glaze work and sculptural pottery that sort of is rooted in functional objects.
So if you guys have probably seen them around, this is from my personal collection from Rock that I got a couple years ago, and it's amazing.
That was a few years ago. I think as an artist, the process is always changing, or there's always a different like little niche you're following because of something you've done or something didn't quite work out the right way. So they have changed quite a bit since those. Like I use other colors now. That no, not everything is just black and white. So I guess we can start by looking at some of the new stuff
Yeah.
we have up.
Yeah, show it.
Yeah. Oh,
Here we go. I can still see you. Everything is going.
there we go. Okay, so um, these are current monsters. So these were actually some of the things that I made for the unicorn show.
Yes.
So colored clay. So these are wheel thrown just like normal. Texture is done with a carving tool by hand, and then the sculpture work goes on top of that. It's very chickeny. Let's see, um, larger vase.
So, Rock, you have a lot of fingers and mouths in a lot of your artwork. Can you tell me about like what they might mean or why you put them there?
So, well, hold on. Fingers for a couple of reasons.
Ooh, here. I can't hear you quite.
Is that okay?
That is okay. Yes.
Okay. So I use fingers in my work for a couple of reasons. So when I was in school and, like you're working out what your thesis is going to be, mine wound up being about torture. So I extensively looked into torture for quite a while. And torture of the hands and fingers is something that really resonated with me for a couple of reasons, just because my hands are so important to me and to what I do. So, like, the thought of them not being there is terrifying
Right.
uh, for me specifically. Um, but when I was young, my grandpa did a lot of my raising, and I spent a lot of time with him. But he got into an accident and ended up losing his third finger in an accident with a trash truck. So my grandpa was missing a finger, and I was obsessed with his stub. Um, so it's it's sort of a connection to something loving to me, but yeah, it's like a little loving thing that is tucked into all of my work, but all of my work tends to be about mass atrocities. So the fingers represent loss and mourning in a lot of my work.
Right. They they're gorgeous and they're creepy. And like, I think one of the things, like when at least like I'm holding like your pieces, it's like it holds you back. You know what I mean? Like, here I am with this precious object, and now it's like I'm having this moment where it's like, no, I touched you first, actually.
Well, when I initially started with the monsters, so it was sort of an experiment with comfort on a couple of levels. So, like physical comfort from it being a useful object, but then like the mental comfort. So, the mouth, sharp teeth, orifices, quotation. So that's where that sort of evolved from. And then they've become more little creatures as opposed to um, like an actual thought on something. So they've they've changed from having a purpose and an intent to uh, being weird little creatures that sort of do the same thing.
Awesome. Okay, can we see some more?
Yeah. So I've started doing some wine glasses, um, and integrating all of the same sort of things as the mugs. These are wheel thrown in two pieces. The top is thrown separate from the bottom, and then they are connected after a little drying. The color comes from colored clay, and it is colored with cobalt. I also use mason stains for some of the other colors, like this chartreuse. That's a mixture of natural elements and mason stains, which are sort of inorganic compounds that are put together and fired, and they portray a specific color, and they're sort of they don't affect the chemistry of other things.
So why do you throw it in two pieces? Does it just make it easier?
Yeah, just significantly easier. So, throwing, if you were to throw this in one piece, you would start from a very large piece of clay, and then kind of cutting back into the neck is difficult, while having the sort of the size and width that this needs to be like functional and useful and not too heavy would be really difficult for the top to like support all of that weight. So in multiple pieces, it just makes the job easier. There are some people who can throw goblets in one piece, and they like to do that, and that's impressive. But I'm I'm not trying
Yeah,
to
but
do
that's
that.
like
So,
a lot of investment. Like, because can you talk about just like the how you get it to that point? Because there's a lot of stages when it comes to ceramics, right?
so yes. So actually, so everything kind of starts like this. This is raw clay, um, malleable. So everything kind of starts like this. You cut a slab off. This is pottery wheel. So all of the wheel throwing happens on here. You wind up with pieces like this. So this is sort of after thrown. These are in the process of drying out, so the bottoms can be trimmed. So you go from. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. We'll cut this quick.
I think we might have froze.
Bottom that looks like this after it's been freshly cut off to something over here that's finished. Hold on just a second. To bottom that's finished like this. So nice and cut away. Um, at that point, So after the trimming happens, that is when the sculpture work starts. So this has been trimmed up. It is still wet. And then the sculpture work is all added under the surface. Then this is allowed to dry, and comes over to the kiln.
Rack, it's a little hard to hear you. You might have your.
Oh, is that better?
Yep, better.
Okay, so after everything dries out, comes over to the kiln. These pieces are so finished and dry, waiting to be fired the first time. So at this point, everything is still clay. If you were to put water on any of this stuff, it would turn back into a lump of mud. So it goes through a firing to about 1900 degrees, and it will come out. All of the gray will turn to a shade of white like this. So this is still porous, but it is no longer clay. It is ceramic now. So the molecules of clay have fused together, and it can never go back from this state. So
Wow.
it's still porous though, so it'll hold a liquid.
Okay.
Glaze is a mixture of chemicals. So this is my chemical closet. These are all the individual ingredients that go together to make different glazes and slips. Different crystalline glazes all come from this stuff. Lots of talc, copper sulfate. This is nickel, black iron, molybdenum, fritz, barium. So these all get mixed together in different proportions, mixed with water, and then put into buckets for storage like this. So these go onto the surface of this. The water is absorbed and the powder stays on the surface. And then it is fired again to a higher temperature. And those they melt together and create different effects.
Okay, first off, you look like a mad scientist with all of those chemicals and everything that you were just talking about. Like, how did you figure out how to even like which? Because you were just saying copper and sulfate and slips and like
Well,
that's like
yes.
a lot
So
of different things.
it is a lot of different things. So I have background in chemistry, which is a big help. But mostly it's research that goes into it. So there are a lot of glaze, like there are books on glaze recipes that sort of have specific mixtures of things that go together, and you can fire it to a specific temperature, and that'll work in some essence. So in a lot of cases, it's looking at those recipes that are out there already and
Okay.
seeing how those things interact together. And then you start making changes to that. And you do a test, and then you get a result. And then based on what happened there from those changes, you can have an idea of what'll happen when you add something else. So looking at a lot of the way things are affected by heat and how they interact with each other with heat uh, really helps with that. So if I'll get out some crystal pieces, and it's a little easier to see things. So, okay, we'll go over to some better light. Okay. So this green on the outside is a mixture of copper and iron. And that is fired to like 2232 degrees Fahrenheit. It's held there for a specific amount of time, about an hour or so, and then it goes through a really slow cooling process over like 10 to 18 hours, where I gradually take the temperature down in increments, and that's what allows these crystals to actually grow. So over that time period of cooling, the surface stays in a liquid state, and individual molecules of zinc and silica they chain together in the liquid, which is glass, and then this is what the natural formations look like.
That's crazy and beautiful. And I didn't even know this about ceramics, that this could even happen. Like, is this
Yeah.
common, or is this something that like like with all the research and everything that you did, you're like, I can create crystals inside of my artwork?
Well, yeah, it is. Crystals happen accidentally in a lot of glazes,
Okay.
and they happen in a lot of things. So I am not the first person to discover this by any means, but there's not a large community of people who do work like this. Um, and then I don't know anybody who really integrates sculptural work like I do with this sort of process. And then I grow other crystals as well. So I these are all zinc here, but there are a few other things that crystallize. So this is a different type of zinc crystal. This is zinc with rutile, so zinc and titanium, and it has a very different structure, and it has very different iridescent properties. If you can see, it's kind of metallic-y looking.
Yeah.
So that's a different type of crystal. Um, Let me see. I can grow iron crystals and molybdenum crystals as well. Um, let's see. Let me get a piece that has a different kind of crystal on it so you can see what that looks like. So these are molybdenum crystals. These little, let me get some focus there. So these little yellow triangles are molybdenum crystals. Sorry, it's not.
So
It's
you
not
said
wanting
that you were a
to focus.
chemist before you became a full, like you have a background in chemistry before you pursued an art background, or an art degree?
No, it was at the same time. My dad insisted that science be part of whatever I was doing. So um, it was actually a compromise that I went into chemistry. But it wound up being very helpful. So, and yeah, it turns out he was right. So, um, let's see. So, there we go. We looked at that. So, what I'm currently working on, I'm working on large pots. And I am making these by hand from slabs. This large piece of equipment here is a slab roller.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm making these large pieces from pieces of slab that are coiled together. Um, this is, let's see, roughly 3 feet tall and 75 to 80 pounds of clay.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
Surface is done with colored slips at this point. So this will get fired and covered with a low fire glaze. all of these colors will get brighter as well.
So that's still like not in the can yet. That's still like in a working state for what
Yes.
is happening. So when you have something that's that large and like, like it's exposed to the elements, like being out in oxygen and stuff, how come it doesn't just like, just from my knowledge of like how clay works from, probably, okay, this is very basic, but like Play-Doh, you leave Play-Doh out, it's going to dry up and you don't get to work with it anymore. But this is still workable with how big it is. So is it because of all the chemicals or what's going on?
So the surface, the way that I mix up slip, there's an item in it called a deflocculant, and it allows the clay to go on very, very thin. So although this is dry, I mean, essentially dry, it's still got some moisture in it, because the layers that I put on it are so thin and dry so quickly, they don't affect the structure of the pot. So yeah, the surface decoration can continue uh, almost for an infinite amount of time after the pot is dried, until it's fired. And then all of this, so this is actually like attached to the pot. A glaze will coat this, but won't change the surface in any way except for making it look like it's shiny and sort of wet, and the colors will brighten up a little bit in the firing process. But this will decoratively be done from this surface, and it'll be attached to the pot as opposed to something that's floating in a layer above it.
Okay. So this is a newer thing for you to have such larger pieces. What made you start working bigger?
You know, I figured, just why the hell not? Um, Everything that has been going on lately, I needed a change in my own process to kind of bring me back into it, because I legitimately didn't do anything for pretty much like 5 days, 6 days. So, um, yeah, I need something to bring myself back into a working state. Uh, and I like big pots. I like the idea of big pots, and it was, yeah, looming there. I had extra material, and I needed motivation to really get myself back into it.
Do you
So,
usually work on artwork like every single day?
yeah, I typically work on pots every day.
So can you talk about your daily routine? Because um, and like staying motivated doing that. I'm somebody who suffers from, unfortunately, a lot of art block, and like sometimes it's really hard for me to approach it like as much as I have to. So I have to like force myself to do it. Are you still there, Rock?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
My thing has blacked out.
I just see a very large pot and a can of aerosol. If it's getting kind of glitchy, we can always reload.
I think I might need to reload.
Okay.
I'm gonna do that real quick.
Okay. How's everybody's Sunday going? Oh, now it's just, there we go. 3, 2, and 1. Whoops. Rock, are you there, buddy? Mm-mm. Hello. Whoops. I cannot hear you. Dang it. This is always the super fun thing. Mindy, you are so funny. And show and stream. Two,
Hello?
one. I can hear you.
I can hear you. Okay, good.
Awesome. Okay, there we go.
Okay,
Back at it.
so
Susan wants you to know that she thinks your glasses are awesome.
Zenny, you got to go to zenny.com. They are super cheap. I think these were $7 or $8 with
Shut the front door.
prescription lenses. So
What?
yeah, they're unreal cheap. It's unreal. So
Okay, so before we had some technical difficulties, which welcome to the life of streaming, I was asking about how you discipline yourself. You have a home studio, and you say that usually every day that you get up and you work at it.
so yeah, so I get up, I feed my cat because she is there waiting on my chest. So get her some food, and I come downstairs, make coffee, and then pretty much start then. So I come out and check on the things from the night before, see where they are in drying, see if things need to be wrapped up tighter or sprayed with water, um, and then sort of just go from there. Um, yeah. So um, I do a lot of gardening as well, and I have a really short attention span. So, um, yeah, so it's mixed with ceramic projects and gardening, um, and cleaning my house. I do have to maintain that, and I clean up after another person. So, um, so yeah, so that's what my day consists of. But yeah, um, generally 6 or 7 hours a day are devoted to pots typically.
But you also run a website, and then you run your social media, and then you have online stores, as well as you are creating stock for all the shows that you usually do in the year.
Yeah, so that's so and I typically do those extra things. So like when I take a break during the day, I can post on Instagram or since most of my stock is all here, if there's something that I'm like really into and I want to post or make an ad for, like I could do those when I sort of take little intermittent breaks throughout the day here and get some of those things done. Um, all of the everything sort of gives you email notifications like when you have a store or and all of that stuff. So it's not like you necessarily have to monitor the store all the time. You just have to keep current objects that you have or offer things in a made to order capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So it like, it's going to take 4 weeks to get this mug, and sort of go into it with that understanding. So, and I do both. I have a few things that I offer as made to order items, um, like these tumblers. I can pop these out in a really reasonable amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can always offer that. Um, and a few other things that I offer like that. But then, yeah, the rest of the time I'm kind of making work that I want to make, or yeah, for the most part, I get to make work that I want to make.
So how many online stores do you manage?
So I have one on Etsy. I have one on Wix as well. I've got a thing that's attached to Facebook. So in total, like four.
Okay. Do you prefer one over the other? Do you think it's better to have multiple stores over multiple platforms?
Well, honestly, it gets a little tricky. Everybody charges different fees.
Okay.
So the you you have to reflect price in the fees that you wind up paying. So like Etsy, for instance, they charge you like 5% or so. It really ends up being like 6% that you wind up paying. So you have to kind of count that into the price. So, everything that you list on Etsy is automatically 5% higher. But like
Right.
my whip shop only, I think it's like 3%. And they don't sort of add additional fees in. So like I can post the same thing on my Wix store for significantly less because I'm not paying a listing fee and a percentage of shipping and a percentage of the actual sale, and I can sort of bake tax into the price so they're not taking an additional amount of money for tax that goes out. So um, one is easier if you can just have one, but Etsy offers a lot of extra exposure.
Okay.
So it's it it gets a little complicated in that realm. Like you probably should have an Etsy.
Hmm.
I mean, really, you probably should, but you just gotta jack the price way up. It just has to be significantly more there.
How
Just
many years have you been doing online stores?
Well, I've had an Etsy since 2011.
Okay.
So in 9 years now.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
wow, that is um, amazing. No, I'm just saying that, like,
No, it's insane. It's insane when you think about it. Like,
because Etsy is its own like beast that has changed and grown and like done all sorts of crazy stuff.
it
That's,
used to be way different.
yeah.
So Etsy used to be preferred platform. So they used to only charge like 3%. That
Okay.
was it. So it was great. They would promote you for like nothing, like you didn't have to pay additional money to be featured, none of that stuff. So Etsy over 9 years has become something totally, totally different than it was previously.
Do you think by having a store online that long has kept a fan base or clients longer than like maybe starting a new platform and like going somewhere else and then like I always look at things like all the different algorithms of Facebook. Like if you're brand new on Facebook, then all of a sudden you're like hot stuff, you know. So like,
Well, I think that it probably works like that on other platforms.
sure,
I think that if you're new to Etsy, they probably give you a little more wiggle room than they do people who have been there for a long time. I would imagine it sort of works the same way. Um, um, yeah, yeah, I would pretty much imagine that it sort of works the same way with that. But now with Etsy, I mean, you can just pay and they will give you all of the feature that you want. So at the end of the day, if you have extra money to invest in it, like Etsy could be great if you have a bunch of overhead capital. They have 5 million people, 10 million people are going to Etsy every month. And if you can drop, $100 a month on advertising, that'll get you a lot of views. You will sell more stuff. So, um, yeah, I don't. I mean, me personally, though, I don't spend $100 a month on advertising
I was gonna say
because
that kind of takes away from like smaller businesses that are trying to make it on Etsy.
see, and that's what a lot of people have been complaining about, and like they've come up with some new rules now that are quite weird. Like if you don't offer free shipping, there's no chance that you're going to be featured. And with with the things that I make, it makes it really difficult to offer free shipping because 10 pounds going to California is a big difference in than 10 pounds going to Mankato,
Right, right,
you
right,
know, but you have to bake in like this could go to California in the price if you're gonna, if you're gonna offer free shipping. And I imagine it works the same way with paintings too. If you're trying to ship out a larger painting, there's a big difference in price. So yeah, it's become something different, and I think the audience of seller is kind of different now. Like they want people who sell $20,000 a year.
right,
That's their the optimal customer now.
right.
I don't think they care so much about you as a individual artist.
Like, so we're all, I know that, like, prior to the pandemic that was happening and stuff, like, you also did shows outside of Etsy. You did art shows, and then you did markets and other things too. I mean, do you have a stronger like return on investment, like doing real live shows, or do you think that like your online sales are stronger?
No, I do much, much better at real live shows. That's way, way better at just in person kind of stuff. That's always done significantly better for me. And I enjoy that quite a bit more too. I mean, honestly, because I spend most of my time by myself making stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's nice to have some interaction with people. I mean, I'm a I'm slightly extroverted. Like I like people sometimes, very minimally sometimes. So so yeah, so it's nice to do a show and talk about what I do, and yeah, it's a whole bunch of people that you wouldn't normally see. Um, yeah, just overall much better situation, and a lot more product leaves because people are ready. People go to a show with an intention of looking at handmade things and art and buying. So, like Arterworld, for instance, people are coming with the intention of buying things. So,
Right.
yeah, when it's focused at that kind of crowd, that's better.
Did you do the online art world?
I have stuff up on it, but honestly, it's a confusing platform. So,
Okay.
uh, I haven't gotten a notification from anything, but it doesn't seem to be going well for me anyway.
you
But
know it's kind of like, for someone like you who has a background of doing online sales a lot, like, um, if if everything keeps going in the direction that it's going, it's like, is there any feedback that you would have for other artists that are existing, of like how to make their online presence better so that like they might get more people traffic to where they're going
I mean,
for their own art?
honestly, I think Instagram is probably the best tool that you can use as far as promoting yourself. Um, I think, yeah, the a big following on Instagram is a, the best way that I know of. I don't have a huge following by any means, but I mean, if you want followers, you got to just post stuff. Um,
Right.
yeah, and post like keep your website attached to your Instagram, keep a store on there with stuff in it. Try to post regularly. I think advertising dollars, if you are going to spend some money, they're probably going to go the furthest on Instagram. Just realistically,
Right.
uh, yeah. Um, Twitter is okay, but it is a little harder. I don't think the I don't think Twitter is quite as worth it as Instagram. If you were gonna put down like $10, I think yeah, to like $10, it's going to go further on Instagram.
Yeah, I know Twitter is getting better with like their more with their visual presence and stuff, but like for the longest time I was like, it's just words, so this doesn't really help me as an artist if it's
Yeah, and
linking somewhere else.
Instagram does not post well onto Twitter either. So, like a link shows up, not a picture. So Twitter is not the best. But if you do want to quit Facebook, you can post to your Facebook through Instagram and not ever have to go on to it. So that.
Oh, I can dream.
So I mean, I did that for like nine or 10 months, and it worked out just fine. So, um, that's an yeah. So I like Instagram. I get sales from Instagram from posting things. Um, so yeah, if you are gonna spend some money, I would spend it on a couple of Instagram ads.
Okay. Um, can we see some more of your pieces just a little bit more close up too? Great.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go.
Awesome. So I know that like
So,
when I've been around your pieces, I want to pick them up and I want to turn them around and like play with them and like look at them and touch them and stuff. And like so are all those fingers, are they like how are you carving those out or are those impressions of your hands?
so these are impressions of my fingers. So I make plaster molds of my own hands, uh, which look like so. This is the bottom of my hand, and then just little clumps of clay get pushed into here, pull them out, and then liquid clay gets put on the back, and they get wiggled into place.
Rock, have you ever taught people? I mean, like you seem to have so much knowledge in everything that's going on there, like in your studio or anything.
So I've worked at a couple of educational institutions
Mhm.
in like light teaching capacity, and like I don't have a master's degree, so I've not had an expectation for teaching, but I have taught a few classes on glaze science, um, things like that. Mostly, it's just I like to. I really like to know what's going on with what I do, so I'm very invested in what's actually going on. So
Mhm.
this is sort of a combo piece, actually. So I was combining the crystal pieces with the monsters. Trying to just get this in some good light. So if you can
Yeah,
see
I
the
can see them.
small little
They,
kind of goldeny crystals.
yeah, they almost look like magical runes or something.
But so I figured sort of iridescent crystal stuff for the unicorn show. So yeah,
Yeah,
so so the bottom of this is a drip catcher, while the crystals are in the high heat point, the glaze becomes very liquid, and lots of it runs actually off of the pot. So this gets glued onto an additional piece, and I will take this bottom piece off with a blowtorch, and then sand up the bottom of the mug so it doesn't have any burrs or anything like that. Um, but so these all go through anything with crystals on it go through an extra step and have to have a bottom piece removed from them.
you totally are a mad scientist. This is like, I mean, all of that. That is like so, all those little pieces of detail, everything. There's so much steps and everything that is in there. And like, so with the chemistry and everything else, what made you do that leap to become this full-time artist?
Um, well, honestly, I hate working for other people. It's very taxing. It's not fun to be fake nice anymore. I just am getting to an age where I don't have the energy for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, um, that's why I'm much happier doing this than things that made more money. And
Yeah.
like doing art is a long haul thing. Like you don't make a comfortable living doing art until you're in your like late 50s. You just like it's kind of like that's part of the game, You have to be ready to put 10 years in before anybody notices what you're doing.
Yes.
That's I mean, it really is. It's you have to be willing and understand that it's going to take 10 years before somebody starts to notice you. And then stuff gets exponentially better after that.
So do you
So
think that it's like networking? Is it your body of work? Is it the online presence? Is it like what is
it's
all of those
it's
things?
it's all of those things, and it's just doing anything for an extended amount of time. You just accumulate. So you accumulate a better list of contacts. You accumulate more knowledge about what people who are interested in your type of pots want. You learn the verbiage that they're more interested in. You find better platforms that work better for you over that course of time. Um, yeah, so it's all of those things that sort of equate to success. It's just you have to figure them all out for yourself.
Okay, so I also have to say, just to play, like everything you're saying is so right on, but it's like just from knowing it myself, it's frustrating. Like,
It is
how did
super
you get
super
through all of that?
frustrating. Um, so being involved with a group of other people who work in the arts is great. So you have people to vent to who are sort of going through the same thing.
Mhm.
So um, working, yeah, working with artists in your community is great. And doing shows is another great way to meet people who are going through the same sort of thing. And friendships with those sort of people make it much more manageable. Um, but not getting like the little wins, like super appreciating the little things that go well. That's what's gonna get you through. Like, so, not everybody can get into a show, but when you do get into a show, like, you should really pat yourself on the back for that. Because yeah, reward for those little things are what's going to keep you doing it. In my personal opinion, that's why I'm still doing it. You
Yeah.
know, so uh,
Katrina has a question for you. She says, "What helps motivate you to create art every day?"
Um, well, it's mostly situational. So I'm pretty I'm pretty affected by news and things like that, um, or what needs to be done. That that has a great effect on what gets done with immediacy. So um, deadlines are actually great. Um, that's another thing about made to order work. Um, Made to order work forces you to get into the studio.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
you so really deadlines and creating deadlines for yourself, that's a really good way to get yourself into the studio. So if you go to um, what is it? They're like artistopportunities.org. I think that's the name of the site. Um, so if you there are several and Zapplication, there are several places that post like fine art shows that are going to be coming up like a year in advance or 6 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go through that list and decide, there'll be specifically themed shows and stuff like this is going to be all about birds. And it's going to be happening in Denver in July. So, like, I'll pick 5 shows over the next 5 months and I'll make specific pieces that I'm just making to enter into that show. Um, it puts you on a deadline for something. I pay for my entry in advance. You can do that through several things. So I put down the money, so I'm invested in it enough to not lose my $25 or $50. That's a great motivator for me. Uh, um, so little things like that, throw some money down on a show and make a piece for it specifically, just so. And then if you get into the studio, that's the biggest hump, is getting in. Like after you get in, you'll start fiddling with something. Like it's inevitable, you'll start cleaning something. It's just biggest hump is actually getting there. So make an excuse to get there.
That's such good advice. The artistopportunities.org, when our website finally goes live, I have started collecting Twin Cities artist opportunities that will be available on our website. That's specific to like Minnesota and a little bit of Wisconsin, not a ton. But I don't know about artistopportunities.org. So did
Um,
you find that, or did somebody show you?
I think I feel like it's just a platform that's out. I think it's just another platform that's out there.
Awesome.
But they have a lot of listing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's artistopportunities.org. But they have a lot of listings. You can look by state. You can filter out. They have grant applications and all that stuff. Um, mnartist.org
Mhm.
has a lot of Minnesota-based opportunities for artists and like teaching opportunities and things like that. Um, most like be willing to do stuff too. So, like if something comes along and it doesn't necessarily seem like it's right up your alley, but it's pretty close, be open to that stuff too, because that can, yeah, it can get you into something. So, like, I don't know, like mosaics. I'm not a mosaic guy, but I've done several just to get involved in something.
Sure, sure.
So, yeah, I think, yeah, anytime you feel like there's a community project you could get involved with, I would go ahead and just do it. Like, obligate yourself to one every other year. If you feel like it or not, do one community project every other year.
That's and actually right now there's so many murals going on and they're asking for lots of help if anybody is looking to be an extra brush for somebody out in the community right now. So
Yeah, but I think lots of inspiration is to be had from those sorts of situations.
yeah,
So, yeah, make make an excuse to do something, and yeah, and force yourself to get into the studio every day.
so with the deadlines and like we've gone back and forth with like we used to not have artist fees, but we realized that without an artist fee, like one, I was putting everything on my credit card, which I was like, I got to stop doing that because I don't know if we're gonna like zero out at the end. Also, like it makes people commit.
Yeah,
You're right.
and it makes a huge difference. So, somebody who pays $20 is not going to ghost you at the end. It's like, I don't know how many people go to Aldi's and shop, but putting 25 cents down on that cart gets it returned. You
Yep.
know, with
Yeah. Right.
with no extra staff. Like so it does not take much to get you invested.
You're right. You're totally right about that. Thank you, Jackie, for finding that website. She put down the artistopportunities.org in the comments if anybody needs it. And
Thank you.
so we're getting close to almost being at an hour with this show. So is there anything else that you want to talk about or show us? Because you got this whole mad scientist lab right there of stuff. And it's just like, it's blowing my mind.
Let's see. If we have anything extra good that I've been working on.
Also, if people want to come and talk to you after this has been up, what's the best way for them to contact you?
You can send me a message on Instagram. That
Okay.
works well. You can send me a message on Facebook Messenger. My website has a contact me form that you can fill out, and that will send me an email, and I'll get back with you. But any of those are great ways.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing some. Well, I guess we'll end on a light note.
Okay.
So
I feel like I'm going to see something really good. I can feel it.
I make tumblers with random phrases on them, and they're sort of nondescript, neither positive or negative, just sort of statements, and they're sort of a little more adult in context.
Yes.
For the most part. So I've made a new batch of those. And so I guess we will, I'll show you a few of those. So. So it was like finding a hot dog in the bathroom. Fat vagina is the key to courage. Dicks are tasty.
I love it. I love it so much.
And 3 fingers and a thumb, please. So yeah, so just and yeah, that's to vary your own process every once in a while. Do something that you don't normally do to you know, like do if you're a painter who only paints real things, do a painting of cartoons, you know? But yeah, so keep yourself interested in your own craft by doing something different. So I think that's all I got.
Rock, I love you so much. You have such good things, and you are an amazing working artist. This is like, you're so good.
Oh, well, thank you. So just keep doing it. Like that's it. Just keep doing it, and it'll happen.
It will happen.
It will. Yeah. Okay. So my dinner is waiting. So
yeah.
Have a great night, and thank you for having me.
Much. Okay. Have a wonderful Sunday. Have a yummy dinner, and we will talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.